Welcome to the presentation on our fiscal 2015 annual plan and budget. We will start with a brief look at what we did in fiscal 2014. Notice that we provide a range of facility and non-facility based services. Observe that in spite of the wishes of some people at the state of Indiana, some people at the ARC, some researchers, and some client advocates, clients keep picking from all of the options listed, and we believe they will continue to do so if we are able to keep these choices available. The services that you see listed all are part of our community, all supported by our community, all are governed by our community-based board of directors. Those services are why we are here, and they are why we are working so hard to ensure Peak Community Services is here in the future, offering just as many choices. These are the services you provide every day, and I thank you, and on behalf of the board of directors, we thank you for the work you do in providing them. Regardless of what your job happens to be, what department you work in, what tasks you perform, everyone in this agency makes these services happen. We often speak about morale, but when was the last time you said a simple thank you to the person working next to you for making it possible for you to do your job? Or a thank you to those in the business office, to the maintenance staff, to a member of the administrative team, or perhaps to a board member for doing their jobs. Everyone here does something that makes the agency work for those who choose our services. Wherever we work, whatever we do, thank you. Government support for our services dropped by over $300,000 this fiscal year. Some of you may remember that is almost the amount of excess revenue from our last fiscal year. Why did this happen? Well, unfortunately, some clients passed away this last year. The rates we are paid for services that were reduced in 2008 have only been partially restored, and only for some of our services. Sometimes people decide to go to a different service provider. Sometimes people from another service provider decide to come to us. We had 4 vacancies in our group homes and 2 in community living. What has allowed us to sustain our operations has been a $100,000 increase in the contract income generated through our workshop, a $3,000 increase in income from our foundation for providing services to clients on the waiting list, and almost $100,000 in investment income, plus the use of some cash from our checking account to cover a few monthly shortfalls. I will say this again before the end of this presentation. The services clients tell us they want through the annual individual support plan meetings are not always the services some from the state of Indiana, some from the Center for Medicaid Services, some researchers, and some advocacy groups believe ought to be the priorities for spending, or the choices clients ought to be allowed to make. We champion client choice. We believe in their right to choose the services they want. Only through sound fiscal management are we able to balance on this razor's edge, but it becomes more challenging each fiscal year. This is a listing of the goals we set out in fiscal 2014. We will have a complete report on the status of each objective once the June financial statements are completed. If you want to see last year's report, please ask. As you look at this slide, notice that most of the objectives focused on improving day services and residential services, services to clients, and that is as it should be. We do extensive annual surveys of all stakeholders, staff, those who purchase our services, clients, families, guardians, work customers, those who hire clients wanting to work elsewhere in our community, and many others. Once again, you have achieved consistently high levels of satisfaction for the services that you provide, and people are very satisfied who work here. We have those high levels of satisfaction because what each of you do is done so well, and I thank everyone who is employed here for making that possible. Our success does not happen because of one person. It happens because we all work together. Sometimes there are difficult and challenging decisions to be made, and certainly not every decision is popular. Peak Community Services is here after 60 years, offering a full range of services when many other agencies have curtailed their service choices because of the excellent work everyone in the agency does day after day. We will now turn to the fiscal 2015 annual plan and budget. We base our annual plan and budget on a tremendous amount of information. All of the information from the environmental analysis, over 1,000 pages of information, and the rest of the planning documents are available for you to review. It is either on the shared drive, in my office, or in the Emma Appleton conference room on the bookshelves. If anyone wants to know why we made the proposals we made, why we do what we do, all of the background information is in our planning documents. We do not do things without a reason. The basis of our planning are the values, vision, mission, and strategic plan. We will spend a short time talking about them, but detailed information is available if you wish to review it. We have a set of value statements concerning our relationship with clients and with one another. They are in our personnel policies and are available for you to review. We have a very positive view of everyone's contribution to the agency and our services. We have a positive view of what those who choose our agency bring to us and what they are capable of doing. If you read the value statements, they are the basis for our vision and mission. We reviewed our value statements and recommended to the board that we continued them as written. We reviewed our vision statement as we do every year. We believe that our vision statement continues to set the highest goal for what the agency can aspire to for those who choose our services, and we recommended that we continue it. The emphasis of our vision statement is on the people who choose our services living the lives they choose, not the lives advocates, funders, regulators, or others, however well-meaning they might be, would choose, but the life the person who has chosen our services wants to live. Creating opportunities for those who choose our services and supporting them in their success, as they define it, continues to serve us well in guiding our administrative and programmatic decisions, and we recommended continuing our mission statement. In the planning materials, you will find a document entitled Report to the Board of Directors, Peak Community Services Strategic Plan Results Fiscal 2014 Performance Report. We provided you with specific actions and outcomes for each of the position statements for each strategic area. We believe we have achieved very positive results within a challenging environment. We recommended continuing the strategic plan. I will not read each item and each slide. The information is there in your handout and in the rest of the planning documentation if you wish to read it. I would highlight the item concerning turnover. Turnover is at 32%, of which 17% is voluntary. A couple of years ago, the state of Indiana was going to set performance targets for providers like us. Their goal was to try to get agencies like ours down to a turnover rate of no more than 40% a year. Nationally, it is not unusual for human service providers to have turnover rates of 50 or 60%. Overall, our turnover rate is pretty good. Of course, we would like to have it lower, but sometimes this is the first time a person has worked in human services. Sometimes the job just isn't what the person expected. Sometimes the person's spouse takes the job elsewhere in Indiana or even at a different place in the United States. And sometimes we realize the person just leaves to make more money. We are very much aware that pay and benefits are a continuing challenge. We do not have the funds to address that challenge, and I will talk more about that later. Note that in relation to competitive position, the same issues that we face are faced by all other agencies. Our overall competitive position for a small rural agency is quite strong. We remain a primary choice for services. We were only one of 5 agencies in Indiana to receive a school-to-work transition grant. We are the only agency in Indiana to offer interim services for people on the waiting list for services. Competitively, we are doing well and working to improve our position. We recommended adopting the values, vision, mission, and strategic position statements for fiscal 2015, and the Board of Directors accepted that recommendation. We will now begin discussing the fiscal 2015 annual plan and budget that went into effect on July 1st. It was minimal. The goals essentially remain unchanged, except, as I noted, for combining accessibility and safety. The emphasis is upon creativity and upon building upon our foundation of strength. The actions we are taking are positive. I now want to talk briefly about some of the highlights of the fiscal 2015 annual plan. 62 objectives target direct improvements in client services, more than any other area of our plan. 56% of our objectives are directly aimed at enhancing client services. Our emphasis is where it should be. We are honoring our values, vision, and mission. I want to mention a few highlights of our proposed plan, and if you want the details of each objective and proposed outcome, please review the plan document itself. The completion of the CARF survey means that all of our services, except supervised group living, are internationally accredited for quality. Supervised group living is accredited using the intermediate care facilities for the developmentally disabled standards that are administered by the Indiana Department of Health. This is a significant achievement for us and an excellent marketing tool. We have completed the conversion to the latest version of our fiscal software. We need client-side software too, but we do not have the resources to do it unless those funds come from fundraising. Our present situation places us in an awkward position because while the new fiscal software has some client-related data, the new administration in Indianapolis is very data-oriented, and we may have to compile some of the data they request manually or by combining into what appears to be one report several separate data reports, a cumbersome and possibly error-prone process. We are at a definite disadvantage when it comes to easily and readily providing client outcome-oriented data analysis on routine and responsive basis, and that is the very information we need to be able to offer quickly. This is a new initiative on our part utilizing an internationally recognized system. We have completed the first round of internal analysis and will work to implement the rest of the process during the upcoming fiscal year. When completed, we will be able to use logic models for each program, internal scoring with documentation and evidence-based results to demonstrate the effectiveness and efficiency of our program and administrative operations in achieving our vision and mission. I will be glad to share the research upon which this system is based if you are interested. We do not have the resources in this budget to address the ongoing challenge of wages, salaries, and benefits. This issue is not peculiar to our agency, but we are fully aware that it will have a long-term negative impact on the agency in terms of staff retention and the ability to recruit and retain candidates for management positions. I will speak more about this as we talk about the 2015 budget. The State of Indiana Division of Disability and Rehabilitative Services is not going to invest in the expansion or refinement of a work services program. Their priority is inclusive job placement elsewhere in the community. But we know that there are many individuals with intellectual disabilities who prefer to work in a workshop. If we are going to create a minimum wage workshop, it will have to be done through a combination of grants, a capital campaign that raises funds enabling us to purchase robot-based equipment allowing less skilled clients to complete manufacturing tasks at or above minimum wage alongside non-disabled workers. It will have to become self-supporting and self-sustaining because once a client is working at minimum wage, the state will no longer fund their activities as a pre-vocational day service. We are in partnership now with the Indiana Manufacturing Consortium laying the groundwork for this project. We have initiated securing ISO certification for the Work Services Program. The critical element will be securing the major funding for the conversion and finding the work. Each year, when we do our annual surveys, there are a number of services we would like to add, but that are not funded or not fully funded by the state of Indiana. We are hoping to fund some of those services with the results of our annual campaign. Copies of all planning materials and the annual plan are available for everyone to review on the shared drive. We're now going to talk briefly about the fiscal 2015 annual budget. We took a conservative approach to the budgeting process, an approach that has worked well for us over the past 8 years. We need to make additional investments in technology, specifically new software to more effectively monitor the provision of services, decrease the paper, increase information flow and accessibility, and allow for better ongoing monitoring and communication. We need to move forward with this project, but we will not do so until we have more experience with this fiscal year. As we prepared our budget, I want to specifically thank Nikki for her diligent work on this process, because without her efforts, it would not have happened. We have approximately $5.3 million in projected income and almost the same amount in projected expenses, with a projected excess revenue of only $2,785. As you can see, we have very little excess income, not near the amount required to pay for an increase in wages, salaries, or benefits, a cost that would be at least $60,000 to $80,000 per year. As I noted, our income is almost $5,300,000, nearly the same amount as our expenses. The total staff cost is almost $4 million. All other costs are about $1.3 million. So 75% of our budget goes directly to staff costs. As you can see from our FY15 budget, income over expense is minimal. The departure or death of one or more clients or the underperformance of any single revenue stream will jeopardize our budget for the upcoming year. 62 objectives, more than any other area, are focused on enhancing client services. I said that 75% of our expenses relate to staff, but 83% of the total budget goes toward the cost of providing client services. That additional money is in the form of things such as food, materials, medicine, supplies, utilities, and other items needed to provide those services. Our fiscal 2015 plan and budget focuses on maximizing income and managing expenses within a very challenging environment. We are focusing a lot of effort on internal and external communication and on improving services and providing services that clients and their families have told us year after year they truly want. We have a strong base, we have a great staff and board, and we have a long history upon which to build. People living the lives they choose is the vision of the organization, and we must never lose sight of that vision. We want to ensure that there is a Peak Community Services here in the future for those who will need us 5, 10, 20 or more years from now. We presented the board with two different options. One was a resolution adopting the vision, mission, values, goals, annual plan, and budget as proposed by the administrative team. And that included an annual campaign to help raise funds for those areas for which we don't yet have the funds to support, as well as a capital campaign that will occur within another year or two to help raise funds for projects such as the conversion of the workshop. The other option was to adopt an annual plan without the annual campaign and without a capital campaign. If they decided on the second option, they had to do that realizing that over the long term, the workshop over time would disappear, and the group homes over time would disappear. The board had a long discussion about which direction they wanted to go, and they adopted the version of our plan that includes the annual and capital campaigns and our attempt to continue to provide the full range of services that clients and families have told us year after year they want us to offer. Rumor, innuendo, and whispers in the hallway. They are so much fun. I have said this many times, but if you hear something that just seems wrong, weird, or just out of line with what we have been doing as an agency, then please come and ask about it. Ask your manager, your coordinator, your director, or please come and ask me about it. If you are so uncertain about coming up to my office and asking me, then bring another staff person with you, but please come and ask. Invite me to one of your staff meetings. Send me an email. Call me. But do not rely on rumors and whispers in the hallway or gossip. 99.99% of the time, they are wrong. Get the facts. Sometimes they will not be what you want to hear, but they will always be better than rumors. Obviously, in this type of presentation, we do not have a way for immediate discussion and comments. But again, come to my office and ask questions. Send me an email. Ask your supervisor. Talk with your director. It's always better than speculating or wondering, or even worse, listening to rumor. Thank you for viewing and listening to this presentation on the Fiscal 2015 Annual Plan and Budget. And again, if you want more information, please ask.